Okay, so today I wanted to talk about my favorite producer and artist duos all time. Hopefully, I don't forget anyone too egregious. First off, we got to talk about Janet Jackson, jimyjam, and terrylewis. They started working together for Janet's Control album, and she's done pretty much everything with them. She, I think, has worked with another producer a time or two, but most of her stuff is done by them. And what I really love about them working together is I just feel like they always evolve. Like Janet Jackson to Rhythm Nation all the way through Unbreakable, like there's growth on every single album. Every album doesn't feel like it sounds the same. So that's what I really like about them, and I think that they're all super talented. And I think that they just knew how to kind of work with Janet's strengths. They knew exactly when to challenge her, and they just had a lot of great material. Some of my favorite songs they've done together include Come Back to Me. That's one of my favorite Janet Jackson songs of all time. I Love All For You. That is one of the best pop songs ever to be recorded. Doesn't really matter. I also really quite enjoyed Broken Hearts Heal, Unbreakable was certainly a moment, and Enjoy. And yeah, this is probably like my number one. Whenever I talk about, artists and producers really growing over time, this is what I'm talking about. And I really like how creative that they were in terms of the sampling that they use. Like, just such a great fit for them to do overall. And I'm just so glad that Jenna found producers that she was able to be comfortable with, and I'm just glad that she really came into her own as a songwriter and as an artist. Ugh, what a beautiful parent. Next up, I got Walter Afanasieff and Mariah Carey. So I just want to say, as a person, he's a chop, and I don't expect them to work together again. And after everything he put her through, I completely understand it. I won't defend this man. I just really like the work that they did together for the most part, and he did Love Takes Time off of her first album, and that is one of my favorite Mariah songs of all time. I also really quite love Underneath the Stars. It's probably my favorite Mariah song. And so I just think that they did a lot of beautiful work together. I feel like his tracks often were just incredible to listen to, and what she wrote over it and sang over it, it was absolutely gold. So I really like them working together. Obviously, got to mention her and Germaine Dupri as well. Their first collaboration was Always Be My Baby, which is a quintessential Mariah Carey song. I really love the video, and she directed that, by the way. I also love Long Ago. That's one of my favorite songs off of Daydream. He did We Belong Together, which is certainly iconic as well. So definitely had to mention this pair. Next up, I got to talk about Beyonce and The Dream. Like, everyone has this funny kind of meme going of like he only gives Beyonce his good stuff, and then his work with other artists isn't the best. And I mean, he gave her Single Ladies, which was a smash hit. I think he did most of Renaissance as well. So I mean, they're really the gift that keeps on giving, and I just really love them together. Next up, I got Justin Timberlake and Timbaland. So, I mean, just what this pair has been able to do, absolutely incredible. They started with Cry Me a River, and I hate that song, so that doesn't count to me. But, I mean, what he did with Future Sex Love Sound was absolutely insane, with songs like My Love, don't like T.I.'s part, but My Love was a great song. Summer Love is my favorite song on the album. What Goes Around Comes Around was certainly a moment. I also really love Strawberry Bubblegum off of the 2020 Experience Part 1. Tunnel Vision was insane. Blue Ocean 4 was certainly a moment. So, I mean, this pair, what they're able to do, it's just absolutely incredible. And this is the main guy that Justin Timberlake should work with. Though I also like most of his stuff with the Neptunes, I'll say that. Next up, I got Aaliyah, Ariana Grande, and Max Martin, because when they were together, it's just Heat Into You, one of the best pop songs ever created, I fear. They also had The Boy Is Mine, which I just absolutely adored off of Ariana's new album, and No Tears Left to Cry, which is one of Ariana's best lead singles. It was just something that sounded so fresh for her. So whenever these three get together, I'm very excited to see what they do in the new album. Next up, I got SZA and her producers. So I believe this is her with Thank God for Cody, and I think he has a lot of credits on her first album. So shout out to him. Then shout out to Carter Lang as well. Like, they have a lot of credits on the first album in SOS. So yeah, this production team is good. Next up, I got Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones. They started working together around the Off the Wall era, and that was such an incredible album with songs like Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, which was just a really great piece. I also really quite enjoyed Off the Wall, the song, so much. And then Thriller, I mean, that album is a classic. Love every song on there. There's no bad songs. Some of my favorites: Baby Be Mine, The Lady in My Life, Billie Jean was a great moment on that record. And then they also worked together on Bad as well. So some of my favorites off of that: Dirty Diana was certainly a moment, and Bad, the song. So they made a lot of great material together, I thought. Next up, I got Brandy and Rodney Jerkins. Yeah, I just love what they did together and the electro R&B that he was doing, and I just feel like he really knew how to utilize Brandy's vocals and kind of get the best out proud of her. I just love their work together. Some of my favorite stuff that they did, they started on the Never Say Never album. I love that title track. I love Angel in Disguise as well off of that record. Put That on Everything is certainly a favorite. And then off of the Full Moon album, When You Touch Me is Brandy's best song. It's Not Worth It is a great moment on that record as well. So those are some of my favorites that they've done. And yeah, incredible duo. Also got to mention Mark Ronson and Amy Winehouse. I'm pretty sure he was really involved on the Back to Black album particularly. So that was a great album. So shout out to them. Britney Spears and Danger. So apparently he did the majority of the Blackout album with that electro pop. I mean, that album was insane. Taylor Swift and Aarondessner, they started working together around folklore and some of my favorite things that they've done. I believe he was behind The One and Cardigan and The Last Great American Dynasty. Love all of those songs, so shout out to him. He was also on Evermore as well. I mean, he's been working with her basically since then. But I feel like a lot of the stuff that she's done with him, I really like. So shout out to them. And I just think that he writes really creative tracks for her, and they're always a treat to listen to. And this is my last grouping. It wouldn't let me put it separately because the pixels are too low or whatever. So first up, we got Adele and Greg Kirkson, I believe, something like that. And they started working together around 25 time. I thought 25 was a great album, and he did a lot of 30, so shout out to him. Then we had Aaliyah and Missyelliott and Timbaland, which was a great moment as well. He started working with her on the One in a Million album. I mean, One in a Million, a song is classic enough. 4-page letter. And then I remember that he did Try Again for her. So, shout out to him on the production side. Shout out to Missy on the writing side as well. Last up, we had the Beatles and George Martin. And I mean, I really like what he did with them. I feel like a lot of it was the instrumentation they were coming up with themselves, but I mean, he definitely added his touch. For example, like that little solo on In My Life, for example, always able to get the best out of it. So that is going to be my list on my favorite producer and artist collab kind of moments and stuff like that. For some of these, like jimyjam and Terry Lewis, to my understanding, jimyjam was mainly the one that was kind of behind the production, and Terry did more of the songwriting. So some of these like kind of work together in that sense, but I just really like whenever a producer can find an artist and it works really well and it feels like they're only getting better with time. So I thought this would be fun to do. Let me know what your favorite pairing is out of the ones that were mentioned, and let me know your favorites overall. Hopefully I didn't forget anything too egregious, and let's continue that conversation.